What is up, you wonderful people? It's Nima here, and today I want to talk about a game that came out recently on the Switch. It came out a long time ago for another console, but for the Switch, it's our first time, and that is Monster Hunter Stories. But I have a lot of other things to get to before we actually get to that. Now, the first thing I want to mention is there will be codes in this video. Yes, you can just pause the video, take the code. First come, first serve. There's one or two that are going to be in here. And hint, there's also going to be one in the next video, as I'm starting a little thing here on the channel where this summer, one video per week will have a code. Now, it could be to Nintendo Online, it could be to the eShop, it could be to a game, just basically whatever I find at the store and I put in the video. So be on the lookout for the fact that there will be just basically free Nintendo stuff in one of my videos every week. And we'll be doing that until the end of July when I go on vacation. Where, don't worry, I will be uploading videos still, but they've all been pre-recorded and a lot of stuff has already been done with them, or I'm working on them currently, so don't really want to confuse myself. But hey, enjoy the rest of June and July. Good 6 weeks of opportunities to claim a code. Now, I also want to go into this before we get into too much more. Please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. But also, before we really get into this video, get things cooking, I just want to say that I will not be giving any spoilers away in this game, at least nothing more than like the first 30 minutes to an hour. So anyway, let's finally get into Monster Hunter Stories. Sorry for the incredibly long intro, but I think at least some of that was worth it. If you're not familiar with Monster Hunter Stories, this is the first Monster Hunter game that really didn't involve hunting monsters. In fact, it was more played like an RPG, an old school turn-based RPG, where the monsters almost seem like Pokemon in the fact that they fight with you. Now, in this game, you're doing a lot more hand-to-hand combat than in Pokemon, although choosing the right monster is important because there are benefits to having a wide range of monsters, some that are strong against like ground attacks, some that are strong against fire attacks. All of these things sort of play off of each other, at least to an extent. It's not as big of a difference as it is in Pokemon, because this game actually has a different combat mechanic that works more like rock, paper, scissors. So there are speed attack, technical attack, and power attack. Now, off the top of my head, I believe technical beats power, power beats speed, and then speed beats technical. And there are non-element type of attacks. Most of them are just skills that you can choose. But to go back to the monsters, each monster does sort of have a default setting, if you will, that they will more likely use a speed attack, or they'll more likely use a power attack. You're not able to actually tell them what type of attack to use, and at the same time, they don't really learn like you do. Like, you would probably face an enemy, X amount of times, and you kind of figure out his pattern, as where your monster doesn't. He just sort of goes to the same thing he's been doing over and over again. Now, the cool thing is, though, is when you do develop more kinship with them, which I'll get into in a little bit, you can do a lot of special attacks with them. Like, let's say you both choose the right command, and you are attacking the same enemy, you'll do like a cool double hit. Or there's also these other skills that you can use while you're like riding your monster. A lot of cool little things that happen and really keeps the combat fresh. Now, somebody did refer to this as like baby's first RPG, and I completely disagree. Now, while this game is not very difficult at all, I will say, if you don't read your enemy correctly, you will die. Like, you'll lose. It's not that difficult to lose in this game, especially against bosses or more rare monsters. And that's part of the game. One of the funnest things to do is actually just go monster den hunting, which is where you're just hunting for monster eggs. And your whole goal is to get a rare special monster, bring that egg back, hatch it, and see what you got. Now, the only bad thing about that, if I'm being honest, is that you have to kind of continue to manage the monsters that you're using, and it's really easy to like overfill your party quickly. And when I was talking about the kinship, so the kinship raises when you keep these monsters in your party, and this can allow for, like I said, the better use of certain skills, as well as the ability to ride, and ultimately just makes your tandem more powerful. And while finding a super rare monster is awesome, it also sucks because you're at odds with yourself. Like, you're having to get rid of monsters that you've formed a bond with, or just ones that you actually like. Oh, this is my first buddy. This is my first guy. We've been through it. And now I gotta kick him out because someone new came to down, like you just feel kind of like a scab. But at the same time, you know the potential for growth with this rare monster is going to be way higher, and it's going to be able to do way more damage. And so you're kind of going back and forth. And there's been times when I've been playing and I thought, okay, I'm good. I can keep my first monster just at the very bottom of my party and continue to level up. But within 20-30 minutes of just hunting, I would find something better. And so just in like Game of Thrones, don't really get attached to any character, because it's a good idea to switch them around, and loyalty don't mean nothing in this game. No, I'm kidding. Like, it does. It's just you got to work through that. And for most people, probably have no problem with it. For me, I don't know. I go by that saying, dance with the girl that brought you, So when you have to get rid of your first monster, it hurts. But anyway, I went deep into the combat just because it's probably the most complex thing about this game, and even that, I have full confidence in you that you'll be able to understand it and have no problem at all. But the story is relatively simple, and in that simplicity, though, I think is actually a really good story. It's just not very complex, which is honestly something I wanted. You're part of a very secluded village where you actually work with the monsters. They make a lot of reference to monster hunters because that's what's outside of their world. In their village, they're pretty safe, and they're not a mark, as where a lot of their monsters would be if these hunters ever found out where they're at. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to fight monsters, because you will. And in some ways, I actually find it kind of messed up, because the way that you are able to get a new monster is you go in, kill the parents, and steal the baby, which is really kind of messed up when you think about it. But let's look past that, because as Monster Hunter goes, if you're not wearing their skin as a new face, you're a good guy, and you are doing that. You are taking care of and nurturing a relationship with these monsters. But the problem is there's something called the Blight that has been seen recently in your area, and what it is it's like a miasma of evil, toxic, invasive smoke that seems to change everything it has contact with, like the plants, everything down to the monsters. And in fact, a very dangerous monster becomes afflicted with the Blight and destroys parts of your village, which sets forth another part of the story that I'm not going to get into. But your main goal in the game is to actually rid the world of this Blight, track it down, and end it. Now, being one of the very first monster hunters who's going to actually explore the real world, the open world, where you're going to meet hunters and you're going to meet people of all different walks of life, you're celebrated as an individual who's ambitious, brave, and open-minded. The ability to work with others, and probably the best representative from your village, to just handle this problem with the Blight and get everybody on the same page. Along this, though, you have no idea where you're going, but you do have a friend who does. This little cat character. Now, if you're in any way familiar with the Monster Hunter series, you'll know that you have a cat that kind of guides you through your hunts or helps you find out where your target is. And in Monster Hunter stories, it's sort of the same thing. This cat just kind of gives you advice. But this cat specifically is kind of annoying. Now, not to the point that some people have said it's like ruined the game, but I will say that unless there was like major cutscenes, I usually just kept the volume down and had background music going on or a TV show or something of that nature. I didn't really give the cat the opportunity to annoy me, so everyone's experience could be different with that. And as far as graphics go, if I'm being honest, I didn't know a huge difference between the first game and the second game. And the second game I know is a lot newer, but it fit right in. And definitely with the cutscenes, they look really good. But there's the open world. And when I talked about, like, most of the fun of the game is actually in the open world when you're looking for these monster dens and hunting for monster eggs and just kind of exploring. All of that looks really good. There is a little bit of a blur like you're going to expect from, well, any Nintendo Switch game, but let alone, let's say, a budget port, if you will. Yes, things could have been more defined. The screen could have been more clear. It could have looked a little bit sharper, but for what it was, I actually really enjoyed it, and I was happy with the graphics. Wasn't blown away by them, but I thought they did pretty good. The thing that really got me was the performance. And yes, there is pop-in, but it's not awful. It's really not that bad. In fact, it's barely noticeable if you don't know what you're looking for. Not to mention, you just have free reign of a lot of open area. You can just pretty much travel wherever you want, and there's no stutters, no lag. Definitely never had a crash. Now, I do think that this performance did come at the cost of a very sparkly, pretty graphics. Now, like I said, it's not awful, but it's also nothing to write home about. Which, by the way, can you imagine writing your mom, play this awesome video game, has amazing graphics, you should check it out. No, but I think that they find a really good balance between performance, and graphics, and honestly, I was very happy with that. I can also say this, for me, I really liked this game more than I liked the second game, but it has encouraged me to go back and play the second game. I will say that when I played the second game, it was like in the height of my like anxiety attacks, hyperventilating, having so many issues, and so I have a lot of negative memories of that game, but one of the big issues I had was all the dialogue. And there wasn't a lot of dialogue in this one, which I really liked. There was just enough to tell the story, push it forward, keep you interested, give you that motivation, but not enough to bore you. And there was definitely times in the second one where I just felt trapped by the dialogue, if that makes sense. Like when a game is telling you a lot of extra information that you don't really care about or is not very pertinent to the story, and you don't want to forget what's going on in the story. And yeah, it did that a lot, I thought, in number 2. Again, I'll have to replay it and see if my situation, my opinion will change. But also, in my opinion, though, one of the best things about this game is the value. It's only $29.99, and honestly, if you've never played it before, it's like a new AAA title for only $29.99. Albeit a dated AAA title, but still, I can't really complain when they put the price at $30, which is usually the higher end for like a really good indie game. And so for all of that figured in, after they give this game an 8.5 out of 10, it's really fun. I think a lot of people should check it out if you're interested, if you like RPGs, turn-based games, or just really like Monster Hunter. And I think this is a really great pickup for just about anyone, honestly. But let me know your thoughts. Have you played Monster Hunter Stories? Is this a game you've been looking forward to? Are you a big fan of Monster Hunter in general? What did you think about the Direct? Because by the time this video comes out, most likely the Direct would have happened. Anything and everything. Let me know what new games you're watching. All of that in the comment section. I really appreciate it. And if you like the idea of doing this code giveaway this way, let me know. Because I can always change things on the fly. We don't have any rules here. I mean, it just came to me as an idea. Anyway, I love you guys. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.